You did it.
Yay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
All right.
That's
Come to
good.
Vermont and practice.
Yay.
This is the first of his New England tour. So I would like
Smile.
to introduce you first.
Yes, that'd be good.
Russ.
Okay.
You're taking pictures of me. I'm not even the speaker.
That's it. That's
So,
okay.
first of all, people were thanking me for the pizza, but thank Russ for the pizza. His company, Wowza,
Yep.
who also brought him here. But Russ has a long history with the Vermont developer community. Russ actually encouraged me to start the first, well, there was a Visual Basic 6 user group, and that's where we met. And that fizzled out, and then .NET was coming along. And Russ, even though I wasn't doing really speaking or anything like that, he seemed to recognize there was something there, and he encouraged me to start the .NET user group in Vermont, and it was the first group before all the other meetups. And then eventually the Code Camp started, and then because of the Code Camp, all the other meetups started, meeting each other and gathering. And so I really attribute the developer community in Vermont to Russ.
Aw,
Right?
shucks.
And he would come here and do events. When he worked at Microsoft, he had started something called Russ's Tool Shed. Before Microsoft was doing evangelism, before they understood the power of community, right?
Mhm.
He was doing it. He would come, spend a whole day training people on the Microsoft technologies, and there would be 70, sometimes 100 people there.
Mhm.
The first time I went to one, at lunchtime, everybody went and sat in corners and ate alone because nobody knew each other, right? And then after the user group started, a couple of years later, you came back and did another one, and it was just one big family, right? That you really encouraged that. So thank you. And then Russ ended up moving to Florida, but he has a soft spot in his heart for Burlington also because he is a big fan of nectars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going there later?
Maybe, I think so.
I think it's the only time I've ever been when you came here. Anyway, so
Brought
he's
my-
doing the New England tour.
Brought my Buck shirt for the game tonight. See that?
Yeah.
From Tampa. That's where I live now.
Yeah,
All right.
So, he said, I'm doing a New England tour. Can I come to Vermont? I'm like, heck yes, please come to Vermont. So this is the first one, and you're working for this company, Wowza, but I know you're going to talk more
Yep.
about that and
Mhm.
who you are. So, thank you, Russ.
You're
so
welcome.
much for
Thank
coming.
you.
And thank you.
Give it up for her, too, Julie. Great job she does over here in this community. I love it. Yeah, I remember that very clearly. We were over at the Hilton, and we had an MSDN event, and people just got together for drinks afterwards at the bar over there, and I said, Julie, why don't you start up a user group, .NET user group. I'll come out and I'll speak at it, and bring pizza. And here I am, 16 years later, speaking and bringing pizza at the meeting.
We just had our code camp last weekend. There were 230.
Right, all right. I think she deserves a round of applause for that code camp. Yeah, man, that was it. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started then on our session here today on building video streaming iOS and Android apps. Who here has actually built any iOS apps or Android apps? A few of you? Are you using Xamarin or are we using Android Studio and Xcode? Yeah, okay. And so that's good because we're going to show you a little bit of both environments, mostly Android Studio and Xcode. And I'll show you what I'm doing on the way of Xamarin toward the end here. So a little bit about myself. I'm now I work for Wowza as a developer evangelist, a former developer evangelist for Microsoft Component 1. I'm also a Xamarin certified developer and a Microsoft MVP. I net a Lifetime Achievement Award winner I got for helping educate over 1 million computer programmers in my career, and also CEO of Fustino Brothers, a publisher of the endorsed Jethro Tull app, and most recently, book author of Azure and Xamarin Forums on A-Press. And speaking of which, I brought a copy to give away here at the end of the day. The thing I want you to do, though, is there is a link on there. You can't quite see it too good. info.wowza.com/2018. Sometime during the session here, pop out to that site and just put your email in, and then I'll download the list, and we'll do the draw from that list, okay, for the prize at the end. I got a $50 gift card for Amazon and also a personally autographed book. And this is where, if you want to take a picture of this, this would be, let me just bring something, I'm going to edit this 1 second here. We're going to say, and I'm going to put this here. We're going to copy this. This is the dev trial, which is good at the bottom. I'm going to keep that there, but I want to also paste in the other one to win the prize. So you'll see that a little bit bigger here. All right, and this is going to be 2018. Okay. There we go. So let's go ahead and bring that back up again. All right, so all the slide deck, I'm going to show you some broadcast and playback demos. All the demo code is up there. And then the dev trial, we've got a 180-day dev trial there available for everybody. And that's really good for our engine product. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the one in the bottom is the most important one there for the drawing here. And here's the book. And then also, we got some swag in here too later. We'll disperse. Okay. Everybody got that now? Yeah, dev trial, info.wowza.com/dev trial. That's a 180-day trial. And then the one in the bottom is for the prize drawing. Okay? Okay, so I have noticed a trend at concerts. I don't know about you. Phones and tablets, right? All being raised in the air. Everybody's videotaping, recording or live streaming, right? It's just, look at this. All those red boxes, I highlighted them. This was a concert I went to in my park in Newport Richey, Florida, a couple months ago. It was a Michael Jackson tribute band, and the park was pretty full. In fact, let's just play this here. You can see me scan the audience. I'm doing a session about video, so I guess I got to show a quick video, right? Now watch. Look at all the devices. Look at them all. I mean, they're all over the place. That is a typical scene nowadays, I think, is that. And, I used to do a lot of videos with, sorry about that. I used to do a lot of videos, and times are changing, right? Things are just getting more powerful, easier to do. You take a look at this, a computer on every desk in every home, right? Bill Gates said that back in 1980. Now it's like a supercomputer in every pocket. And look at this tweet this guy put out. It says, my new iMac Pro with 64 gig of RAM, 4 terabyte solid state drive has 11 times as many bytes of electronic memory as the Apple II. And by the Apple II, I mean the total of all electronic memory ever installed in all 6 million Apple II computers ever made. That's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing when you think about it. And, the thing I wanted to show you here with the video thing is I used to do a lot of video work, video recording. I learned a lot from Carl Franklin. He taught me how to do that when I did the Russ's Tool Shed. It's all about the tools, TV show, and all that. And even lately, I would go record. My brother does a week of rock session in Buffalo, New York. It's a bunch of high school kids together, and they perform for the first time in public, do a week of training. So I bring all my camera equipment and doing everything, and then I got to, get all the different angles, splice them all together, make a recording, and it's a lot of work, to do that. And this last time around, we did that, but I also took my iPhone and I did Facebook Live. And you know what? It's immediate. You're done. You broadcast it up there, and it's one of those things that it's just the internet and videos weren't really made for each other because videos are so big, right? To try to get them through, and you record a video at a park at a concert, and then what do you got to do? Well, you can't really share it because it's too big to message. It's too big to email. Now I got to upload it somewhere, and then somebody's got to download it, and that takes forever. It's clunky. It's really a tough scenario. Live streaming, though, I really think is the way to go, because now you're not only pushing it to wherever you want to share it to, but it's already there. And you can record it, whatever, on the way, to have it for prosperity's sake. But you get what I'm saying? And then last week I was actually at the Mobile World Congress out in LA. Anybody here go to that last week? Amazing. 3,000 people there, and it really gave a good bird's eye view in the industry. This is one of the sessions I got some info out of. The mobile world with video viewership is growing. It's nearly doubled in the last 4 years alone. It was around 20 minutes, now it's close to 40 minutes per day, and it's just going to keep going up. And I think there was a lot of excitement in the air with the potential of, with 5G coming out into the masses, and you're going to have better response times, more, ability to play videos and stream the videos, and the future is very exciting for developers that are building, live streaming apps. Is all I can say. There's many industries that it really applies to. So why is live streaming hard to do and hard to program? Well, adding a live broadcast and playback to a new or existing app, a lot of times is complex or difficult. I really wouldn't know where to begin, to do something like that. About a year ago, I would not know where to begin to do that. Plus, in general, there's a lack of knowledge, deep knowledge in the video area. It's a complex area. There's a lot of things going on to make videos work. I remember when Expression Encoder came out, like 10 years ago, there was like 1 million settings in there. And I spent forever trying to see which ones would work best. And you always had to test it on a very slice of a video, not the entire video, because it took forever to render all the time. Painful, right? Traditional mobile playback latency is too high. That's another problem we see a lot. And then video. And internet, like I said, not really inherently made for each other. You got a fat video going over a thin pipe, and we're creating content now that can be done in the masses, right? So anywhere, anytime, mobile devices are everywhere. So now you got a proliferation of devices out there to cater to as well. So what we're going to talk about here today, we're going to give you a little overview on Wowzer real quick. And then we're going to go into the GoCoder SDK. This is the SDK that will facilitate you doing live video streaming in your iOS and Android apps. And then also build broadcast and playback apps from scratch with iOS. We'll show you those. And the same thing for Android. Also, we have a REST API. I'll show you how to use that to programmatically control streams. And then finally, we'll talk about some of the other platforms and recent experience I've had in building binding libraries for Xamarin. So what that is all about is, say you have an SDK that only runs for Objective-C or Swift, and you have another one for Java, for Android. Well, how do you wrap that around to use it from C# with Xamarin? And there's a process you can do that, to create these libraries. And I'll talk about that at that point. And also what's going on with React Native and Unity. So Wowza is the gold standard for live video and audio streaming. We've actually been around over 10 years and over 100 employees, and we are growing rapidly. Privately held, profitable. Golden, Colorado is headquarters. Along with, we got office in Redwood City, Berlin, Germany, and my condo in Tampa, Florida. All right, so lots of partners. You can see all the different industries here. We got service providers. You've got enterprise and government, and this is powering 70% of the Gartner Enterprise Video Magic Quadrant. You've heard of Intel, right? You've heard of Home Depot, SpaceX, Boeing. In the sports, every minor league baseball game is streamed with Wowza software. And then also you got Yankees and Red Sox, ESPN, all customers of ours. Maine and Duke. You got University of Maine, and you got Duke there, Dartmouth. In the education column, 85% of the top 25 universities, right? We got 100% of the Ivy League is using Wowza streaming. And it really is for everybody. Houses of worship, transportation, public safety, list goes on. So this is a really good list. We're not a startup, is my point here, okay? And how has it helped me? It's an end-to-end solution for any streaming need, anywhere, for any audience, in any format, at any scale. And that's quite impressive when you think about globally, you know, broadcasting a video to any place on the planet with really good latency. So here's the picture, right? The end-to-end streaming software. You may have some third-party encoders and maybe some IP cameras that added to it, and they're feeding a Wowza streaming engine product. Now this is a on-premise solution, all right? Now you could spin up a VM. We have them in the Azure Marketplace and AWS as well that already have the streaming server in there, the engine server. That's a really easy way to spin it up. Who here is familiar with AWS? Who's here familiar with Azure? Okay, great. So just, you know, in the marketplace, just do a search on Wowza and you'll see them. I'll show you in a minute. Then we also have an off-premise solution, which is Wowza Streaming Cloud. Right, so this is all cloud-based. You don't need to have any hardware. Just do everything through the Wowza Cloud service. Now this does an ingest, to transform, enhance, package, and deliver all in the middle tier. So on the left side is the encoding piece, right? And so you have hardware devices that do the encoding, but now you also have software that will do it, which is the GoCoder SDK. That'll take care of encoding it. For those that are unfamiliar with encoding and decoding, when you send it over the wire, you got to stream it down to a thin send. It's analogous to a zip file, right? When you're sending something big, an email, you want to zip it down tiny as you can, send it across, and then when you get to the other end, you unzip it. Well, at the other end, you decode it. All right, and that's exactly how it works with video. And you can see the Wowza player is an HTML player we got on the right side, many destinations, including Facebook. We actually helped develop hardware along with Facebook for 1080p live broadcasts. It's a rack-mounted hardware unit and sits right next to the stage for rock and roll bands or any kind of entertainers that want to do that. And it really comes out crystal clear. So that was a hugely successful product for us, and it's going places. You know, not only can you do it to Facebook Live, you'd be able to do it to YouTube Live. We're doing right here, and it's with some incredible quality. So that is the kind of overall architecture here. And then you also have, at the other end now, the Wowza GoCoder has a playback capabilities to it as well. That's fairly recent. So that will take care of that. Now we're going to simplify that whole diagram. For the rest of the night, we're just going to talk about this kind of a stream, right? You got a live event and you want to do a stream. So you're going to integrate this with the GoCoder SDK to go ahead and broadcast it, right? Then it's either going to go through Wowza Streaming Engine or Wowza Streaming Cloud. And then at the other end, the playback is going to be done through the GoCoder SDK. So that really simplifies our topic tonight. We're just going to look at that one stream as far as apps go, all right? And that's what we're going to talk about now. And so cross-platform and provides many other video methods such as bitmap overlay, text overlay, broad support. Anybody ever hear of that app, HQ Trivia, or play it? Yeah? That's Wowza, right? It is doing that with the real-time, you know, text coming through, overlaying over the top, you know, and it's really, really some incredible software. Okay, so the GoCoder features basically include these, right? It enables live video broadcasting and playback capabilities, eliminates complexity. A lot of times that you have in developing apps for a broad range of devices and platforms. You can also broadcast not only from internal but from external cameras as well, or audio sources. Typical from games, for example, or from local files, and easily connect to Wowza Streaming Engine, Wowza Streaming Cloud, and Wowza Streaming Cloud ULL service. So ULL is ultra low latency. With that feature, we just came out with this like 2 months ago, you can broadcast anywhere in this planet with sub 3 second latency. in the same region, it's sub-second. It is really jaw-dropping when you think about it. I mean, I can, the advancements in technology is just mind-blowing when you think of that you can do something like that today. So we're very excited about that particular service. The ULL service is built on top of Azure. And so we are been working very tightly with Microsoft on that. And we had a very big launch on that, like I said, a month or two ago, and it's very successful so far. Lots of good feedback there. Bidirectional data event support, right? So you can build event handlers in based off of data, trigger different things that happen in the app. So that would be very useful, right, when you're processing a lot of data along with the video. And dynamically variable bit rate and frame rate broadcasting. It supports a lot of the newer versions. I think the API version on Android is API level 21 or higher. All right, and that's what we support. Okay, a few of the current customer use cases, as you can imagine, like live weather, right, or news right on the spot, broadcasting live, maybe vanity broadcasting, perhaps like interview athletes, sports streaming and highlights, low latency sports playback, IoT, right, embedding and broadcasting playback through drones and security and the new doorbells they got out and stuff like that. Live auction broadcast with low latency playback, live gaming broadcast with low latency. And one big topic at the Mobile World Congress was the new gambling laws that are being passed where the states can decide what they want to do. Well, latency is going to have a really key part of that, right? Because anytime there's any gambling going on, they want to make sure there's a level playing field right across the board so everybody's got the same latency, in terms of because, they were all envisioning being able to place bets on any part of a football game, for example. I bet you it's going to be a run play next or a pass play, and you can bet on that sort of thing. And so this latency is going to become increasingly important, right, going down the road. And Wireless is very well positioned to tackle that piece. All right, so lots of free trials. The first one you would want to get is the GoCoder trial. And actually, you just go out to wowza.com and you'll see free trial in the right corner. Just click that and you'll see them all. And you'll have the ability to download that. Now, in order to get that to work, you would need the streaming engine trial we talked about, and then or streaming cloud. Right now, the streaming cloud trial does not support API use other than in the sandbox. So that will be changing soon. I just can't say when. But for your practicing experience, you might want to start out with streaming engine. You'll have it'll be like a real world experience, is what I'm trying to say. Cloud is very cool though. And also cloud has a differentiator of having the ultimate low latency feature as well. And I think the monthly plans, if you did want to go that route, are fairly reasonable that you can get into that. But you'll see some changes there coming. And then, so let's take a look at getting started now with the GoCoder SDK. So for iOS, it's really easy. There's a file that gets distributed, downloaded with your SDK, which is called the Wowza GoCoder SDK.framework. You just drag that into your solution settings and you are good to go. And this library can be used with both Objective-C and Swift. Who is using Objective-C for their iOS apps here? I mean, there was about a few of them, and Swift. So they'll split there, a little bit each. Okay, so that's how that works for Xcode projects. And then for Android, basically you just got to drag in the AAR file, which is your Android library, compressed library file. And then also put like 2 lines of code in the dependencies in your Gradle build. And you can see them down here, this compile file tree and this compile to pick up the Android file there. So the step-by-step here is you basically want to attach a view to the camera preview, and that's using the class called camera view. And then there's a configure the camera, that's in Wowza camera. And and that might involve, like, detecting if the camera's got autofocus, and if it does, automatically set that sort of thing. And then specify the video and audio stream settings. How, rich do I want to set the broadcast for? And so there's various settings there for both video and audio. Define the broadcast status callback method. So this tells you basically programmatically, is the stream started successfully? Is it starting? Is it closed? Is it finished? That sort of thing. So you get all those status in the status callbacks. And then, go ahead and run a metal broadcast, right? Start the live streaming broadcast once that's all defined. So here we have the Objective-C code on top and the Android code in the bottom. For those that have never programmed in either, but C#, probably look at all the Android samples here, because they'll make a little bit more sense. It's closer to C# than Objective-C is. And so you're going to go ahead, for example, you're going to bring up the view that we have provided in either environment. And then once you have that, then you're going to go ahead and do a start camera preview. And then you want to check and see if the active camera supports a continuous video and autofocus like we talked about. So there you can see the line of code. Does the camera have the ability to do autofocus continuously? If it does, go ahead and set it, to do that. So step 3 is specify the video and audio streams. Stream settings. So here you see not only the frame size, but also important information as to the IP address, right, or the website where you're going to set your host address to, the stream name, and then go ahead and do a set config and wire up that object so it's ready to use. And then here is the callback methods. You can see here with the status message here on the left, and whether it's idle, whether it's starting, whether it's running or stopping. And then step 5 is starting the stream broadcast, and you can see the start streaming method right down below. Then on the playing end of it, all right, so we covered broadcast, so now you could take your phone. We've got a GoCoder app I'll show you in a little bit. You can start broadcasting with that, and then you can have a playback capability now as well with a player. And so the classes, again, are listed on the right. So the WOW's player adds a player view to the app. And then also you have the same thing with the status callbacks, all revolving around playback this time. You configure your connection again. Also, there is an HLS failback in case the mainstream fails for any reason. You still can use the player with the HLS failback, and then set your play options in the player class as well. So this kind of gives you the code. So you can see on the bottom here for Android, this is the player, like a player activity layout resource file. So this is what looks like, HTML for those who aren't familiar with it, but this basically creates an ID for our stream player. And then up on top in Android, same type of thing. We have actually going to register this and do a sync on the handler for that particular view. And then inside of Objective-C, you would have a case statement, for example, here. This is showing for the different status codes. Is it idle? Is it starting, running, stopping? All that kind of stuff again. And the same for Android. Configure the connection. You can put in the port number, the stream name, the application name, enable audio and video, and then the Android equivalent of that on the bottom. Then configure the HLS failback. So this says here if the failback is enabled to true, then here is the backup URL that you want to go to. That's the Apple format. Okay, then the play options here is a did tap playback button in Objective-C on top. So it's a toggle switch is the way we have the sample here. So if it's playing and you hit it, you're going to stop. And if it's not playing, then you're going to go ahead and fire it up to play. So let's go ahead and take a demo here on this. So the first thing I want to show you here is in the code, we'll go out to, let me get it up here first and I'll drag it over. Let's take a look at the SDKs, and they're right here. Now, this one here is the Android, and we'll start out with the iOS one. All right, so you have a docs folder right here, and in the docs folder, this is where you would have all of your documentation that you would see here, and all the different classes we've been talking about. So you can click on any one of them, see the details here in the documentation. All right. And then what we'll do is we're going into the, back out to the sample apps. And inside of here, there is a one that will go ahead and play everything, which is the all sample apps workspace. So let's go ahead and fire that up, and that'll go ahead and bring up Xcode. All right, so in Xcode, we have two things I want to point out here. One is the license key, which is right here. So when you sign up for your trial, you're going to give them an Apple bundle identifier for your project, and it'll match up with that license. So in order for the sample to run, you actually have to use both of those, because now Apple has that new team thing in there, and the team thing is set to Wowza, which you're not part of, so that won't work. But for iOS only, you would just have to put your key in here, and then you would have to go back out to the project and go ahead and change your bundle identifier to the one you specified that would match up with that key. And then you can go ahead and run this. So I'll go ahead and run this out to my iPad, and let me go ahead and fire up QuickTime so you can see that on the screen. And a couple things we're going to show you here. This here. So this is going to be a real challenge today with our video. And all right, so here's my iPad right here as soon as it comes up. There it is. All right, let's go back over to the app. Let's see what's going on here. All right, let's fire it up. So it's building it, and I should now preparing, okay, installing it, and then we should actually see it come up momentarily. Yeah, it's running now. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and bring that up. I don't see it running. There it is.
So it's running on the iPad?
It's running on the iPad. Yeah, I just deployed it there, and you can see it in the background. Right there it is. All right, so there's the broadcast button, right? So now if I go ahead and hit the broadcast, I've got the opportunity here to set settings, right? So I've got settings that I need to make here for the IP address in particular. Now let me show you where that is. I'm going to go ahead and drag that out of the way a little bit. This is going to go use Engine. All right, our first demo is with Engine. So here's the server and applications. We're going to go to the live application. And let's go down to incoming streams. No, we didn't start it yet. What we got to do is get the GoCoder settings here. And this is going to be the IP address right over here. Now I spun up a Azure VM. So with Azure, it's going to give you the Azure IP address.
This is the middleware, which is your software.
Yes.
That controls what's being broadcast and then captures it and then sends it out to the client.
Yeah, exactly. All the transcoding, everything that's very complex to do in the video world, that's what it's doing. And you don't have to worry about it. All you got to do is send it, and it'll go ahead and take care of everything else for you. And so this is basically the IP address. Now, what I did to build this VM, this is running on this IP that's part of the Azure. You can see that's the same IP address right there. And I did a start, but to build this, all you really got to do is just do a search in, there, Wowza. And then you can see we got 2 Linux versions, paid and bring your own license, and Windows we got 2 versions. You would pick the bring your own license, right, and use your dev trial key there, and then all you got to do is start up that VM and use something like RDP, right? Downloads the VM, go and bring it up, and go in there and one-time edit and paste in your license key and your credentials in 2 different files. Restart the server, and you're up and running. That's how easy it is. I mean, it's really easy.
But there's the option of hosting the engine yourself, but you also have your own engine.
Well, in both of those scenarios, it is considered off-premise, right? So you can have your own hardware. I can install the whole SDK on this machine, right, and run it in my Windows VM. Or I could spin up a VM over here and run it in that machine. Or if I got a hard data center with machines in it, I can install one of those. So that's all what Streaming Engine is for. Streaming Cloud, off-premise, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
All right, clear? All right, so that's how I did that. So now we've got our and then every time you go to use it after that, all you got to do is start it up. You don't even have to bring up the RDP at all. You just go ahead and fire it up, and it's streaming away. So now we got our server over there. We've got our numbers here, right? So we got to go back over to our display here. And let's see if we got that. That is going to be 40. And then we got to go 85. Dot. And then we got to go 161. Dot. And then we got to go 94. And I think I did that right. Okay, good. We're done with that. Hit done. And now if I go ahead and start broadcasting, hitting the broadcast button. Let's go look at my face. Here we go. And then we got, go back over here now to the, where'd it go? Right here. Go back up here. Now we go to incoming streams, and you actually see there's the stream, right, that we just are pushing up. And what we could do is we can go to a Wowza player. And then to go ahead and paste in that IP address as part of the string. All right, so over here, I'm going to come back and enter our URL with that IP address. And there it is. And then I'm going to go ahead and launch this player. And then you should start seeing Russ up on the screen here once it launches. And this player then also you have the ability to nope. I don't know what that was about. Oh, I got a plus in there. I don't want that. Thank you. I screwed that up. Thank you. Yeah, there it is. Hey, how about that? Yay! Yeah. Then also you have the ability to you have the ability to get the embedded code for one thing. So there's, you just put that in your head, and then the script tag, this div for the player element, and then here's the script down below. So I've done this in Visual Studio. I just create an empty web project, right, and create a page in there, HTML page. Just hey, how about that? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and stop this. And so that's our first demo. And so there's a lot of choices you have, right, for playback, and we support quite a few of them. So. Where's that? Is that coming from the other group? That's being recorded. That's crazy. How many people we have watching it down there in the other location? Oh yeah? Hi everybody. Welcome. All right, let's continue on here and see what else we got. So I'm gonna move this back out. And okay. Next up, now let's go into open up another project. Now, the demo project that you get there, the sample app, also has a playback. I'm going to demonstrate that in the code in the next one. We'll take a look at the code in the next one as well. All right, so let me get that up here first, and I'll bring it on the screen. I'm going to go back to Xcode, and all right. All right, so here's this one. And basically what I did here was I've got a storyboard created, with a button on it to go ahead and do the broadcast. And over there somewhere, there it is, the broadcast button, right? And then in the view controller, here's the logic we need for this. Start up right here. So we got a few variables, the go coder, the config, and the camera preview. We're going to load up those properties. And then here, this is where you put your license information, right? Register your license, put it in there. And then you have the shared instance you're going to start up here. And then we're going to see if you're going to request camera and microphone permissions. Enable both video and audio. And then here is where we're going to go and get our config values, which we have down below here. And then we did a start preview. And then also, for some reason, my iPad, the one camera is not working in the back, so I always want to bring it to the front one. So all I did was switch camera, right? So now it's got the selfie camera, on there. And then here is the URL. Now this is going to be for cloud. So let me go ahead and show you cloud here. And there it is. Okay. right, so here's Cloud. I've got a demo stream here that I created. It's very easy to create these streams. You would just go to your creams, like if you want to go ahead and create a new one, it brings you through basically 5 steps to do it. And the actual, if I go, we'll take a look at the results of that right here. So I'm going to go ahead and start this up. And this may take a few minutes to do, but it's going to go ahead and fire it up. But down below you can see what the IP address is, and if there's actually a URL, which is what I put in the code over here, right? So I'm going to get rid of this one here. This URL right here, and then I've got the port number, the application name, and the stream name, right? This is what I got fired up here in Cloud. So if we take a look at this, this is now started. If I come down below, here is the stream name, there's the port number, there's the URL that I put in there, or you could put in just the IP address. Either of those would work, but that changes, so I always just keep the URL because it'll always map to the right address. And then this is the actual app name right there, so that's where you get that from. All right, so now I'll come back over to the code. You saw where we got all those values from, and we're just going to fire this off now to the iPad to do a broadcast here. And in the app we did all the settings in the code here, right? Whereas the sample app had a settings page you go to, but this is a really easy app, and I'm actually going to be having a blog, I think, come out this week on how to do what I'm showing you right now. And so we got a big announcement this week. I can't tell you here, but stay tuned on that one. And then, so let's go ahead, and there it is. So I've got this, let's see if I can bring it up on the, there it is. I kind of started it sideways, so I'm going to have to bear with it here. I'm upside down. This is crazy. Oh, there we go. Okay. And then we go hit broadcast on my mustache. And then, let's see. If I hit it right, it should be coming up there on the bottom. You should see a stream show up there in that thumbnail. Maybe I didn't hit it right. Let's try it again. There we go. That time I definitely hit it. Okay. And there should be a, there it is. So now you can see it's being sent up there and it's broadcasting correctly. So this is a very easy test to do. You only saw it was about half a dozen lines of code really to get this thing going, maybe a dozen tops. And you got yourself a broadcasting app. You can broadcast this anywhere on the planet. That's pretty good. You like that? Good stuff so far? All right. So let me go ahead and stop this from running.
I have a funny question.
Sure.
Well, maybe it's a funny question. So it's kind of a funny thing that we're using YouTube to live broadcast
Right.
this because we didn't build our own app. And I can see somebody maybe building a commercial app similar to being able to do the live streaming on YouTube. But you've also got gobs of clients who are using it to build their own apps. And I'm curious about the use case for building your own broadcast and maybe even client app. I'm just curious. It's clearly being done. I mean, the only one that came to mind is like Channel 9, right? It's their own brand, and they broadcast, and they have their website where they broadcast their things. So I'm just curious what kinds of things those other clients are doing. Is it because they're creating private things?
Oh, repeat the question. So what's a typical use case where you'd broadcast to multiple places, right? I mean, seems like it. Yeah, from your own app. So you can broadcast, and then where you play it back is the key, right, on that whole part. And the playback could be numerous simultaneous locations. So you can go to an app maybe you wrote, it can go out to Facebook Live, it can go out to YouTube Live, it can go out to their website all at the same time. So now if you're like a performer or an entertainer and you want to reach as many people as you can, you're blasting it out all over the place. So that is all wired up in that middleware software to be able to handle that.
And so the broadcast end of it, creating the front of it,
Yeah.
is in order to get it to your engine.
Yes.
To create the broadcast part, you have to do that in order to get it to your engine, and then from your engine you can deploy it to your own custom apps, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. And you had a question too, or?
In a class we filmed a website/app for surgeons to record their surgeries and kind of put it in a secure site. And I see this would be great for that. The surgeon could just basically have his iPhone recording a surgery and it's within the software.
Exactly right.
And the key there is secure, not
Secure,
having it
yeah.
public like you have on YouTube.
That one is a secure loop where people have to log in to see the screen, but it would be surgeons all over the world logging into the site to see another surgeon's work. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this, like, yeah.
And you might want to repeat some of this again for the other people.
Yeah, the comment there was a typical use case that he knows as a surgeon will stream his surgery, right? And then either residents maybe can watch it, from different locations. In that case, it would be like a public, a private stream. So yeah, a lot of things we can do there. What I'm going to do is bring up another. I have a Android device here. So we are actually going to, I'm going to show this on the screen next, bring this over here. I'm going to test this playback, but I'm going to use the Android to do the broadcast, all right? And what I've done here, there is an app you can download in the store, which is the Go Coder app, right? We've been talking about the Go Coder SDK. Well, the Go Coder app was one of the first apps we built with the Go Coder SDK. And here it is. So if I go ahead and bring this up. And here is the, what happened there? Let me try this again. Go Coder. All right. Here we go. So I have the recording set to publish it to that same location. So here's my, I bought these really cool plastic things to put these in at Staples on the way here. I forgot them in my hotel room. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So we're going to have that one broadcasting. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to play this guy. And you can take a look at the code here. Basically, it's going to that same stream in the cloud. Video, audio enabled. Then you have your license number. Then you also have the your config settings again. It's pretty much very similar, and this will go ahead and then play it right there. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to fire this up to the iPad, and let's see here.
Boy, it's like Christmas up there.
Ain't it, Ruth? I was so happy I found those. They're like magazine racks, like you find in the office, the dentist office or whatever. It was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. Running playback tests. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'll go ahead and play this back. What I have on here, let me go ahead and hold this one up a little bit. And then right behind it is there's the iPad right there. And there it is, right? So now we got this going. We're cooking with gas here today. Pretty good? All right. So I am having a blast with this software. It is, very easy to do, and it's all going to get better, with a lot of other things we're going to talk about next. All right, so let me go ahead and get out of here, and then we'll hop over to Android. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this guy.
You guys also offer like the storage of the videos, if you recorded that and stored it?
Yeah, so when you do engine and you do record it, it's going to go right on your server, right? Or anywhere you specify as far as that goes. And then in the cloud, it would be cloud storage that you would have. And we,
So your app does facilitate that storing of all those recorded videos and managing them,
well,
being able to share the backup.
the far as the management of the videos go, we have some partners that have some superior solutions for managing your video library. So we typically refer folks to those vendors because they've done it like incredible. So, but you certainly have the videos, and you can certainly write your own management system or management system you want. But we just don't provide that ourselves out of the box. Yeah.
From cloud, are you able to choose and say, hey, I want this for Dropbox, I want this for S3, and stuff like that from the cloud version? Because I know from the engine, it sounds like you could no matter what.
Yeah, I have. The question is from cloud. Can you say, "Oh, I want this to go to Dropbox," or you pick the destination where you want it right to? I do not know the answer to that. I haven't actually tried that yet. I would imagine there's some kind of a script though you can write that would handle that. I mean, you're going to drop it into a file. You have a listener on that file. Something drops in there, then you pump it to anywhere you want to. I don't know if we provide that built in or not. That's the question, but it's certainly doable. Yeah. Yeah.
Two questions.
Yeah.
One is, do you have any analytics that can read your data, your video stream, and provide like some alerts about videos of people you are taking videos of?
Yes, we do. The question is, do you have analytics about the video usage? And the answer is yes, we do. I do not remember the extent of the analytics. I know one thing that we were looking at was, somebody had asked me about was like how long people watch a video for was like one kind of statistic, right? And I don't think we have that one, but we have a lot of other ones I know that are in there as far as hit counts and usage and all that kind of stuff.
So a follow-up question, you mentioned data, but do you have analytics or anything that looks at a face of a person and recognize that person and provide that kind of question?
Like face recognition, yeah. The Android sample app does have face recognition in it. So
Probably just using the Android SDK facial recognition.
I think so.
Not using anything you guys have built on top of that.
No, right.
So while that video is getting streamed, you don't have a way of looking at the video and inferring from that and making a facial recognition of entities and acting on it on the server side, not on your app.
Right. Yeah.
Right now you don't have that. I'm talking about
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the code in that sample app on the face recognition. Maybe we could take a peek at it and see what's in there, but I'm betting you're right. I bet you it's loading the SDK for that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you guys have written it out.
Yeah. I think they were actually thinking of taking that out of the sample app because that's all it does is just it does that. So,
Like follow the page with square.
okay. Continuing on, let's go to Android. So let's go fire up Android now. And we'll do the same thing here with Android. We'll take a look at the broadcast and then the playback, right? So I'll go ahead and bring this up. Oh, first we'll look at the sample app. This is quite robust. So I'm going to run this. We'll go out here. And let's go bring the okay, so now it's building this, and we'll go ahead and deploy this. And there it comes right now. So this is pretty robust, right? You have streaming live video, you have playing video, right? But it's also got capture an MP4 file, right? Broadcast a live video stream while saving it to an MP4 file. So that will have some good code that I think some of you were asking about in it. Stream an MP4 file, right? Broadcast a video from an MP4 file stored on the local device. And then you've got other things in here. Display a bitmap overlay. That's kind of cool. with, there's the Wowza developer, right? And then we'll take a look at the playback in a second here. But let's go back, and he would publish this out. And then I think we can go back to our playback test on this guy. I should be able to play it back. Let's see, is that going up there? Goes to where's the website? There it is, right there. It is. Yeah, I saw it black. That's the one right there. So there it is. It's streaming up there right now with that logo on there, right? So lift this up, and then you see that momentarily come back up with our picture behind it. Oops, I stopped. Mistake. All right, let me go back to this one. All right, and take a look what else we got on this. All right, so then we also have, this is the focus. Oh, shit. Shoot, this is the focus.
It's okay, it's for mine.
That's okay. It was a little blurry to me. Anyway, so then you also have display text overlay, grab a screenshot, the facial recognition demo, display an audio meter, audio level meter on top of it, Bluetooth mic for audio capture, event metadata APIs, and display detailed SDK and device information. So lots of great code in this sample. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of this. What's that? That sample is up on our GitHub collection. Exactly. Yep. Okay. Then let's take a look at opening up in Android Studio a recent. Let's go open. I want to go to the playback one. So let's go back to, broadcast, and I'll show you the code in broadcast. Broadcast. All right, let's bring this over. All right, so the first thing here is take a look at our app structure here. This is the one I want right here, main activity. That's what we're looking at. And then also under the resources and the layouts, there's this code right here. So this is the camera view. As you drop in here, there's our ID is going to be our camera preview. And then we've got a button down here to go ahead and broadcast. And then if you take a look at the code, once again, you're going to have the same type of thing with the, checking the registration there you put in there. And there's our properties like we had in the other demo. There's our camera view. We're going to go ahead and find that idea, that camera preview we just looked at. And then down here, we're going to go ahead and set up our frame size to 1920 by 1080. And there's our ID information again that we have for the configuration. And so this one here, let's go ahead and run this, and then we'll take a look at that. So I'm going to go, this is going to my Samsung. I just picked this up. It was like a couple $100 at Best Buy. It's not a bad device, the Galaxy Tab A. Fairly reasonable in the grand scheme of things, I guess. And it's pretty, it got a nice display on it. So here we have the item going. So we'll do our broadcast. And then we should be able to see that coming back up over here shortly once we did that. You see the status messages displaying there too. Streaming is active, and there it is. So we got everybody here. Hi, everybody. There you go. We got it. So if you hit it again, second time, it's toggles, right? On and off, now it's shutting down. And so that's successful there. Now let's take a look at the playback. And so this one here, we're going to, I'm going to actually bring back that broadcast one on this one and broadcast it from here. Oh no, I'm not going to broadcast. I'm going to broadcast from the iPad. All right, with the Go Coder app. Okay, so that's ready to go. So as far as the code goes, in this one, we have the registration key and then all these streaming settings for setting the config information. There is the backup URL for the HLS backup. And then you have audio, video enabled. You could set volume. And then you have your click event, right, to go ahead and fire that up. So let's go ahead and do a broadcast from the iPad. And I'm using the Go Coder app now on the iPad to broadcast. We're going to be coming out with a player version of that. Right now, the one you download, you can only broadcast with. And we are going to come out with a Go Coder playback because we just added that functionality in the Go Coder SDK. So look for that in the store too. So then this one here, we're going to go ahead and run this one. So the playback should be on here. And there's the, it's streaming right now over there. And so now when this deploys over here, we'll go ahead and hit the playback. And I'm using the Go Coder. There we go. So that is your playback. Oh. Now, the one you download, you can only broadcast with. All right. We're going to come out with a Go Coder playback. How about that? All good? All right. Any questions on broadcast or playback for Android or iOS? We'll go to the rest of the deck here. If not.
Your next challenge is 360 video.
Yeah. You're right, and you know, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Is this like a fad or what? Is it actually happening, increasing? You think?
Not streaming necessarily.
I think it's really interesting to see how to monetize, how to monetize. Like you have like a professional video system, yes, you know, it's membership based, but for things like YouTube, kind of like some new consumers, the clients, you know, it's going to be.
Yeah.
I
I tell you one thing I saw that was extremely cool. I met the VP of Intel Sports at that conference last week, and I'm going to meet with his tech lead, and they're about to announce an SDK. You know those special effects, like when, like, say, you know, I don't know, Shaq goes in and, you know, dumps one, right, or something like that, and they want to isolate him from the rest of the team, just show him and what he's doing and dunking it. That kind of effect, or doing first-person vision, like say you're Tom Brady on the field and you're throwing the ball down, and you want to see what that looks like from his perspective. So they call that first vision reality, and those type of effects, you know, it would be incredible to put into like a live video stream coming in. And so I'm going to be exploring some of that possibility. I mean, when you start thinking about the possibilities and all these different things that are out there right now with live video, it's really mind-boggling. So,
Let's say you were going to sell a 360 video
yeah,
on a seat, sitting in the box.
there you go.
With your
Yeah.
with President Obama on your right and Michelle Obama on your left, and you're watching a game.
Yeah.
And you got 360 video, and you're selling a box seat in a prime location to like the guys that are sitting down in the other room.
That's right.
Watching this. You know, who's going to pay? That's the
No, they were talking about that's immersion, right? So you are actually immersed in the setting, in the scene. You feel like you're there. they're talking about that. I mean, that's what's next. You know, you'll see that coming out. So,
Well, it's recorded with 360 video and different, all the various
Yep.
codecs to do it and stitch it together and that whole, I mean,
hmm
but the next thing I can see is people wanting to do this.
yeah, yeah.
So this isn't something to be monetized, but Micah, I was thinking, you guys are, Code for BTV is getting together to work some more on the Green Up Day app, right? And I'm thinking, geez, I wonder if there's a cool use case you could think of to build that into the app while people are going around Vermont. Of course, they'll need cell service.
Right, G. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, but,
Just the live ongoing stream of like,
Our team, just do it.
or having the people who are out doing, maybe they can take a picture too and tweet, text it to you, but just an idea of like, hey, I'm, in Huntington and there's, something here that's gonna take a little more than me and my little green bag and, kind of like video stream it out and other people who are out and about, they could see the app, they could see that and go, oh, that's something I could help with.
A Tinder for Green Up.
great, love it.
It's great. But live video version. Sorry if you guys are all missing this convo.
He can repeat it.
Talk amongst yourselves. No. All right, let's get back on track here. We're going to talk a little bit about data. And so the bidirectional data event example here. So live playback, step by step, what you would do is create a data map and then send a data event. And do that with the data map class and the Wowza Go Coder API class. For playback then, you would register the data sync and then receive the data event. And this is like your event handler, right, that would get invoked for processing that data. So the way it would look here, for example, you would say put this text for hello world in there, and then go ahead and populate the fields in the map. So that would be the process right there to create the data map. And then what you want to do is send the event. So there'll be a send data event there to your stream with your params that you just created. And then register on the playback side the data sync right here with the register data event listener. And then this will go ahead and create your event handler for that. And then this is the listener right here that would actually receive that input. And this is something I'm looking forward to trying out a little bit more myself and diving into that area. And that pretty much covers, most of the API capabilities in the GoCoder SDK. Now what I want to do is shift gears a little bit. Now you saw me hard coding in, some IP addresses and a few other things. Well, wouldn't it be nice to get that information programmatically, right? And we can do that through API calls. We have over 160 API calls for cloud. I don't know how many we got for engine, but this is basically what I'm going to show you right now. I will show you how to create a stream, start a stream, check the status on it, stop it, and delete it. Okay, so we're going to do that programmatically right now. And let me go ahead and bring that up. And that is, I'm going to use PAW to do this. You can certainly do this with Postman or anything else that you would like. And I'm going to do some real estate management here because we desperately need it. Need that. Get rid of this. And okay, good. So let's take this over here. So we're going to need that. And let's close that. And there it comes. Okay. All right, so here I've got the post. It's going to be for, I'm going to show you the sandbox next that comes with this. So let me go ahead and bring that up. And we'll do it through the post, through that. One second, I almost got it there. All right, so sandbox.cloud.wowza.com. So this facilitates testing basically where you're not getting charged anything for video streaming. All right, so this is a great tool if you want to test out all your APIs and all that kind of stuff. There is a interactive documentation you can go to right here. And what you can see are all of the API calls here. And we can just go right down to, for example, the streaming ones. You can see we've got all the different versions out here. And the live streaming one that we're going to point you to here is the one we're going to start with, which is just to create a live stream. And as soon as that, it takes a while for this page to load the first time it comes up. And when it does, we'll go down and take a look at doing that. And I'm going to that out. And where's that documentation? And what we'll need is an access key. And an API key, and I'll show you where to get both of those. Those will go into the header request. And it's not behaving with me here today with our connection we have. Oh, maybe you could see them there. I'll create a live stream, for example. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. Let's go back out to the where we came from on the sandbox. Oh, there it is. Okay, wait a minute. I think we got a display problem. I can't show you that. All right. Let's go back over here. So on this, to get your API keys, you would go under your name account for your account. Go to API access. So there is a sandbox put together. So here's the actual key for this is going to be your access key. Back on this page, if you scroll down, there is your API key. So what you want to do is copy both of those into the header fields named for the API key and your access key. And then the next thing we want to take a look at is the body params. And this is basically, if you bring this, this is a JSON file. You can see it right there. And these are the different things that you would set up when you create a stream. Like the location, US West California, recording, set to false, delivery method push, aspect ratio, player type, width, all that kind of stuff. So you can see that what we're going to do is we're going to send this over, and then what we're going to do is retrieve the ID value. So to start this up, let's go ahead and post this. And then that was successful, and here is the ID that we need for the subsequent request. So we'll copy that. I'm going to come back over to the second choice. Now, if I were to poke out in the sandbox here, see here if I can find it again. And go to over here and look at stream targets. You'll see that I just created this one right now. All right, and this is the demo target stream that we just created. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and start the live stream. And what I need to do here, though, is just simply paste in the ID of the stream right there. And that should be it. It's just a put. Again, you have to have the same headers there. And so let's go ahead and put that. And it looks like it's okay. It says it's starting. Now, it may take a little bit to do the starting. If I go take a look at the stream sources right now, or actually it was in targets. Doesn't say the status on here, but that's no problem, because if you want to see what the status is, there is one there for live streams, and then the status is at the end. And I haven't been really showing you this URL, but let's take a look at this. So this one here has got basically state is the method, and live streams is the endpoint on all these. All right. So let's go ahead and do a get on that one, and then you can see it come back, and it's still starting. And so you may want to check this programmatically, like every few seconds, to see if it's actually started up yet before you actually go to the next step. And once it does, started right there. Okay, so now we got that started, and you can see the. I saw it here before on the live streams. There, and I forgot to mention, for cloud, there is a connection code you can use instead of typing in all 4 of those fields, the host, the name of the application, and all that stuff. You can just put a connection code in, and it encompasses all 4 of those. And so this is our stream, and then you take a look here for the state was started, and then to stop the stream, very similar. It's got a stop verb. And all this is really documented extremely well in that API page that I attempted to bring up. So now it's going to go ahead and stop that, and then we're going to go ahead and do the last thing, which was to delete it. And that'll be our full cycle, right, of typical things you might do with a stream. Pardon me? That is what is called for in the API docs, and no, I myself don't. There's a get. The get for the. So when you what? Can you repeat that for the crowd over here?
So if you, according to the standard, practices, if you're using API, you can use GET request for anything that doesn't have a side effect, meaning it doesn't change the state on the
Right.
object.
Okay.
And if you're using functions that are changing the state of the object or the service, you should be using post or put.
Post or put if you're affecting a change. So that's why, for example, here we got a get for live stream status. That's not going to affect anything. That's just a read-only action, right? So that's a get. And then the other ones would be put, because they're actually doing something, stopping the stream right there. All right, and then the last one then would be delete that stream. And it's just a delete verb there on that one. And so now we have all our streams deleted. So that is the API demo. And let's get into the last section here on other platforms. So I've had a very interesting month building library bindings like prototype. I just wanted to see if I can get it to work. Then once I do, we can either open source it, or I can get maybe support to take it. I don't know. But that I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But I really want this thing to work. And so I took a couple of Xamarin University classes, and there's some good documentation on the Microsoft Docs. And I started going through this. And let me explain the process here. First, we'll talk about iOS. There's a tool called Objective Sharpie that works in conjunction with the terminal app. It's a command code, command line driven utility. And the purpose of it is to create 2 files that are based on your project. And what it does is it sucks all the headers in, and then it derives what are the interfaces, what are the methods, what are the properties, right, for that C# would be talking to. So the process, just to review one more time, what we're doing here is I've got an Objective-C SDK, and I've got an Android Java SDK. And I want to make those work with .NET and C# and Xamarin. All right, so how do I do that? And basically, a lot of people call these a wrapper, right? It's a wrapper around that SDK to facilitate not only Xamarin, but also maybe Unity, maybe React Native, right? Everybody, there's a lot of different developers out there that create apps in different ways. So we want to support all of those, or provide means for all of those developers to also use the SDK. So if you're ever, involved in a shop and they have like an SDK just for one environment, you would want to go through this process as well to try to extend your audience of those that can use your apps. I'm doing 2 sessions later this week for the Xamarin group in Boston, and then .NET group up in Portland, Maine. And so I'll be talking about this as well over there. So anyway, you create the API definition using Objective Sharpie. It generates the API definitions file and all your structs and enums, and those are the 2 files that it creates. Then what you do is you copy those 2 files into a Visual Studio iOS bindings project. So when you do a file new project, one of the options would be create a bindings project, right, for iOS. And then once you do that, you compile that out, and that then will create your DLL, and that's the DLL you'd set a reference to in your Xamarin iOS project, right? It's pretty straightforward. You think it's pretty easy. It's not too bad. That diagram kind of depicts what's going on there. The end result is going to be this DLL that you see here. So, my experience so far, there's a couple different ways you can use that Sharpie tool in the terminal. One is you could just blatantly put, suck in the framework with this framework command. That was giving me an argument out of range exception. So what I did was, and this was, I found this on my own. There's other folks that run into this, so just search on Stack Overflow. But the idea here is to specifically specify the lead header object and then what folder all the headers are in. And if you explicitly state it, this will work. At least in my case, that's what worked, okay? In the class, I think they do this one, but they did talk about this, and so just keep in mind there's a couple different ways to use the Sharpie command and drill into the headers. Then on the Android binding steps, basically bindings are for Java libraries that, again, were built for Android. Now, you can either bind a jar file or an AAR file. I think they were saying that AAR is supported for Android, and I think that's your best bet, right, if you have an AAR file. We distribute an AAR file with our SDK, and also we distribute all the headers and the framework files with the SDK for Objective-C. So a lot of times when you do get an SDK and it's in native format, you'll get those files. So this is how you can, then go to other platforms. So basically, you want to determine which libraries, Java libraries can be bound. You're either going to bind to the jar or to the AAR, and then also you want to be able to handle private use and public use references for it, and examine how the Java language constructs are mapped to C#. And what I did was I went the AAR route. So with the process is simply create a bindings library for the AAR. So again, you do a file new inside of Xamarin, and there's a bindings library template, and then use the binding libraries types and resources to build your DLL. This is the Swift is not supported, but we do have the iOS Objective-C documentation for binding Objective-C, and then Android. There's some more documentation in the Microsoft site. There are 2 iOS classes, a bindings library and one with Objective Sharpie. Who here has Visual Studio Pro or higher, I think? Anybody? So yeah, you get access to Xamarin University, right, with that. And then you get a similar class for the Java bindings. Now, this is one thing I just found out this week, and if you do go this route, I had a ton of errors in the solution I was building, and I didn't know why I was getting. In fact, we cleaned up all the errors, and the last thing that came up in the output was contact Xamarin support. So as it turned out, I had to go to an alpha version that's not quite out yet, as well as the preview for Xcode 10. The combination of those two, it did a clean build. And then now I've got some code where I can at least share an instance and start coding it, in iOS. Android, I still got about 20 errors. And so what I didn't know is if you start out with Xamarin.com, and which redirects now to visualstudio.microsoft.com/Xamarin, and at the bottom it says, click on Sales and Support, and that goes to the same URL/support. If you select Visual Studio, and then in the drop-down list, you select Xamarin Platform, it's a free support call. So this is great, It's like, so you got any problems at all with Xamarin, feel free to, and you're really stumped, I mean, a lot of the stuff you can find, on Stack Overflow, but this was hard pickings. I couldn't find a whole lot on the kind of errors I was getting. So they've been helping me out. They got the iOS one running, and I'm hopeful. And he started clearing up some of the errors in the Android version as well for me. So anyway, that's a resource I want to make you aware of, because I did not know about this. Does anybody here know about this? This is good, right? So you got that in to kind of fall back on. All right. So let's take a look here. I'll take a look at that in a second. We'll just finish the slides and we'll go over there. And then if you haven't filled out that URL, I'll put that up on the screen. React Native. There is actually, MetaMobile has actually created a React Native wrapper, right, for our SDK. So it's on GitHub. I think they are in the process of updating, or recently have updated it to include the playback libraries that were added. And Unity, Oxygel, one of our partners, is developing a component for the asset store for that. So stay tuned on that. So everything's going in the right direction. We're not quite there yet, but we will be. And so for now, at least you saw the functionality today. And then for any of the Xamarin devs out there, we're pretty close on that one, I would think, too, in a few months, hopefully. A lot of resources here. We got the GoCoder SDK. Developer.wowza.com. Oh yeah, let me show you that. That's pretty cool. Oh, Wowza. That's our sister company. Wowza. What a great name for a company, isn't it? All right, so on our developer poll now we got the mobile SDK link. So that brings you to all of your, really great content. A lot of the stuff I showed you here is based on this. Also, it'll bring you to the API and SDK docs that we have for Engine, Cloud, all that kind of stuff. And then we did the Wowza Streaming Cloud Sandbox that I just showed you, and then a link to the dev trial, which is at our info.wowza.com/dev trial. So that is kind of a look at that, and then we have a lot of other documentation where we're continuing to enhance this portal. But that was a big step. We actually now have a developer pull down. We didn't have that before, so we're getting there. I'm getting there on that. All right, and then here is the. Bring that up. Just one quick view at the Xamarin project, and then we're done. I'm gonna go watch some Monday Night Football. All right, here's the. This one here is the iOS project. So here's what the bindings project looks like here on the bottom. Let me drag that. Wow. Well, picture, if you will, do my Rod Serling imitation. There's the API definition, right, that got created by Objective-Sharpie. And here's all the structs right here. That's all in C#, right? So then this will build a DLL, which you then add in as a reference right here. And then in my test application, here I've got the Wowza Go Coder, right? And then you can see here, I got IntelliSense, yay. Right? To me, that was a big step in the right direction. Like, now we got a shot at getting this thing working, right? Once you see that, you're pretty happy. So this will start it up, but then I actually started putting some code in here, like here's the code in C# to set all the configuration settings. So we're getting there, and I cannot wait to get this done. And then on the Android project, I'm not going to bother showing you that because that's got a bunch of errors in it right now, but again, we're getting there. So re-support is good. And so anybody need that URL for the giveaway here today?